So yeah, it's a year. We just say it's a whole year of podcasting for us. So thank you to everybody on here for being here today. And we were meant to be in London. When was that? It's going to be on the. I don't know when it was that we were going to be in London. Now I've forgotten. It's all, life's kind of carried on.
May sometime.
May the 9th.
Thank you. May the 9th. Michael's busy schedule, and unfortunately, because of the world and the way it's changing, we're not. But we're here, and this is just as good. This is just as fun. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, a whole year of podcasting. So thank you to everyone for supporting us and listening to us.
Welcome to episode 15 of the Full Stop Podcast. Who would have thought? With Sarah Lawrence from After the Storm, Berenice Smith from Walking Our Shoes, and me, Michael Hughes from Married and Childless. This episode we're joined by Joss, Julie, Rod Silvers and Jody Day. We're all feeling a little lost due to the virus. And our original idea for this episode was centred around being childless and single in this COVID time. But as you'll hear, we covered so much more. And Julie starts us off.
Julie, hi. I'm in Spain. I'm in southern Spain, where I was kind of trapped. Really, I mean, I live here. This is my home, but I was kind of trapped here when the lockdown started. So all my plans are being cancelled, and that's it really. I'm English and I live in southern Spain, and I've been with Gateway Women for just a couple of months. So that's it.
I'm Jody, and it's lovely to have Julie and Joss on the call, Gateway Women members. And so I'm, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder of Gateway Women, which is the global friendship and support network for childless women, and a big supporter of the Full Stop podcast, and really happy to be on the show again.
My name's Joss, and it's lovely to be here. As Jody said, I've been part of the Gateway Women network for a while. I did the online B course, I think back in 2018, maybe. And I'm based in the UK, in the sort of southwest.
Rod's next. That's right.
Oh, me?
Yeah, come on.
All right. Oh, blimey. Well, I think I've met everyone, anyway. Yeah, I have. No, Julian. Yeah, Julian. What's your lovely name at the bottom now? Yeah.
Joss, yeah.
Joss and Joe, J and J.
And J, yeah.
What is this? Gateway Women.
3 J's. Yeah. Why are we wearing stripes? Yeah.
Yes. Stripes, and you all begin with J. What's that about, Jay? That's a bit J-ist, that is. Everyone's got a J in their name.
It's a rule.
I can't join, and I'm a bloke. What's that about?
It's a conspiracy.
It is a conspiracy. Everyone, yes. Rod, I work with this lovely lady, work with this lovely man, I work with this lovely lady, and I'm just floating about. I've been floating about acting and writing, and was honoured to get to know everyone. And I just waffle a lot. And that's why I'm here, to waffle. Oh, and by the way, I just moved. I'm in London, and you can probably tell I'm a Londoner. And I just moved to Finchley from Croydon. So it's a step up.
I'm going to have to Google that.
What's that?
Finchley?
Yeah, where's Finchley?
Finchley,
I've probably been there, but...
It's just London, isn't it?
It's a lovely part of London. It's pretty posh. And
Finchley is posh.
It is. I don't know how I got
You're
in.
Very posh. You're almost as posh as me in Cambridge, darling, but not quite.
I had to get my passport out to get in here. I had to get my passport out. They let me in. I don't know how.
Oh, well done.
I succeeded. Got in. Beautiful.
That was the funniest thing, though. You went, I've moved from Finchley, from Croydon. Everyone went, what?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no one knew. If you know Croydon, you'll be glad to move out. Respect to the people of Croydon, by the way. Respect to. Probably get any letters or any kickoffs. Do you know what I mean? But,
yeah, we'll get a deluge now from Croydonites going.
Yeah. No, Croydon's a class place, beautiful place.
It's not bad. I quite like it. But yeah, Finchley's very posh. Is Finchley Essex? Is that Essex, Finchley?
No, it's North London.
It's still North London.
It's the first time I've been up North London, because I've always been in South London. But I just wanted to climb the ladder.
I think that's very socially, good of you. Well done.
Jody, are you still in Spain, by the way?
Huh? Sorry?
Is Jody still in Spain?
I'm in lockdown in rural Ireland. I'm in West Cork. Yeah.
Wow.
So not in Ibiza, but in West Cork at the moment. Yeah.
You got stuck there, did you?
Sort of. It wasn't really safe for us to go to Ibiza with my elderly mother-in-law.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to make a decision where we were going to be because we could see what was coming, and we chose to be here.
Well, it's Ireland's gain, is what I say. You've got the
I
toilet full.
love it here. I love it here.
It is beautiful. Come on, Sarah.
Oh?
You ain't spoken.
Oh, no, I haven't really.
No. That's what I said. Come on, Sarah.
Get on with it. So, so we were asking, weren't we, how everyone's finding lockdown?
I'm actually, it's Jody again. I'm doing okay. In a way, my life hasn't changed hugely, yet it's also completely changed. And I think the sort of cognitive dissonance between those things really fried my brain and my emotional system for a while. And I think probably because my elderly mother-in-law lives with us, we sort of went into voluntary lockdown quite early before Ireland went into official lockdown. But it was different when it became official. We've just got to the end of week 3 of sort of official. And I think week 2, I really struggled. I really struggled with understanding what to move forward with my work and my life, and what to put on hold, what was important, what wasn't important, what my motivation was. And I think my work with Gateway Women has been such an anchor for me over the last decade. And that felt really unstable as well, because actually I felt a lot of women who would normally be reaching out for support around their childlessness weren't, because they, from a psychological angle, I understood that they were more in survival level anxieties. I have never seen a quieter Mother's Day in the UK. It was almost unmentioned. And it's usually, along with Christmas, the busiest time of year. And of course, the launch of the second edition of my book fell into a coronavirus-shaped hole, because that came out on the 19th of March. And that was 6 months of work. And, all of you helped me with it too, which just went completely down the plug hole. So it feels like it woke up a lot of grief for me about a lot of complex things that I've had to sort of get used to. And now I'm used to it. And now I'm just sort of back to sort of plugging on mostly as normal. But with plus baking, as we've discussed, plus a great deal of baking.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I was plugging along quite nicely, and I think I've tipped over a cliff edge really, and I feel quite fucking fed up, if I'm honest. Being blunt. But I was being really productive, so I was doing loads in the garden. But I think having all my work dry up has kind of just really thrown me. Just as because for those that don't know, I've got 2 small businesses, and in overnight, one of those, all the work just dried up immediately, and none of the solutions are going to work for me. So I've felt a lot of my grief, I guess, coming up over that, because I put everything into my work, and then it's just gone, and you just think, and you're trying to keep going, aren't you? And you're trying to think, what can I offer through after the storm? And sweet FA, if I'm honest with you, at the moment, I'm really struggling to motivate and keep myself going. So it's like trying to support other people is just impossible when your cup's empty, isn't it? So I'm really, really not in a good place at the minute, which is probably why I'm quiet, Rod, if I'm honest.
No, I understand.
Not good on a podcast, is it?
Yeah, that's exactly how you should be, though.
Quiet?
No, keeping it real. Just saying how you feel.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone's going through it at a different pace. Maybe Jody, you've gone through it already, but I'm going through it at the moment. But yeah, I'm really struggling. What about everyone else?
In rhythm with quite a lot of the people I'm in contact with and I've been supporting, and there does seem to be, if we think about, the change curve or the grief cycle, these things do sort of have a pattern, and I think there is a point when we touch a sort of bottom, and we'll probably touch it again throughout this process. And I was in a bad way a few years ago, and I my partner was, he's brilliant at sort of letting me get on with what I need to get on with. But he was like, are you okay? And I went, yeah. I said, I'm feeling the grief of the world. I said, and that's kind of what I need to be doing right now. And he's like, right. And it was just this sense of, it really hit me that the world that I knew, that we knew, has gone.
Yeah.
Whatever it is when we come out of this at the other end, the world before coronavirus has gone. And also I feel that, and it just brought back not so much my grief of my childlessness, but all of the feelings of the grief. The sense of pointlessness, the sense of not having a future, the sense of not knowing my place, the sense of not having a visible identity in the culture. It's like so many reminders of stuff that I've been through in the past and come out the other side of. And it sort of was like really painful echoes in my psyche, in my body of loss. And I thought, this is the loss. Everyone's feeling this in a different way, and so I have articulated that on my blog and people have responded to it. But people are so overwhelmed with information right now that I'm also staying a little bit quiet, because I feel there will be a time when people are ready to talk and think and process it in words. And I don't sense that we're quite there yet.
No, in actual fact, the pointless, that's the word I used yesterday when I went off a cliff. It's like just feeling pointless. What is the point now of me carrying on really with all this business? And it did bring up echoes of all the childlessness again. And my husband was like, what the fuck's this? I was like, I don't know, just go with it. But I think for those that are living on their own, I can only begin to imagine how difficult it is. I've got someone indoors, if I want him around, I'll go and get a bit of company. But if you're on your own, it's a lot more difficult, I think.
Yeah,
I live alone, yeah, definitely. And I would say, initially I felt that because I'm more naturally introverted rather than extrovert, so I always need a bit of time by myself. And so I think initially I thought, I'll be okay. It won't be that different, perhaps almost like a little bit of denial about it. And then it really hit me, and I realised how I'm so, I don't know whether reliant is the right word, but how important my sort of daily contacts are with my work colleagues I get on well with, or excuse me, my friends, my family, who I live in a different city to my family. People I just kind of know from like a yoga studio I go to a lot, just all those little contacts. And I noticed actually that some of my grief around childlessness very much reappeared. And I think there was something about the solo walks and just, I guess, everything kind of going round and round in my own head. And I suppose just seeing more families and little kids out in the parks and so on that I was walking in. And I think it does link a bit to what Sarah and Jody, you were saying about that sort of pointless feeling. I was just, and I guess also with the virus itself, a sense of my own mortality, the point in my life or not, as a woman who doesn't have children. And yeah, I definitely had that kind of sense of, well, I can do all the things that people are telling you to do, like have a routine and, da-di-da. But actually, I've had a few times where I felt I'm falling off a cliff. I'm holding on and I'm almost not coping very well. And then I'll ping back and I'll be okay. So it really flexes and fluxes quite a lot.
Just, I think a lot of people have said that, haven't they, about this sort of the yo-yo, the pinging backwards and forwards. And also I can relate to everything you've said, because I live alone and I find it really hard here, particularly in Spain, partly because I'm in a foreign country, but also because of the culture here. And it's interesting listening to people and reading what people say on Gateway Women about when they go out, people in the UK and other countries who can still go out and how painful it is to go out. And here's me longing to be able to go out, because in Spain we can't. But now thinking, well, maybe it's a kind of mixed blessing in a way. I mean, but it's still, I'm very much aware of people that I am in contact with here in Spain who are constantly having video calls with children, with grandchildren, you know, constantly being, I mean, I'm sort of older than everyone else, and sort of grandmother generation, as it were, and a lot of support from the other generations in people's families, you know, that they have. And I have family in England, but it's not the same. You know, my niece is looking after, caring for her mother, my sister. Her prime focus isn't me, it's my sister. And I'm one of 4, and they all have children. And what I see, you know, we go out on the rooftops and balconies and do this applause every night, and there is not one other person who's alone. Not one other person. They're all in couples or in families. And yeah, it's very difficult. And that, the unexpectedness of falling off the cliff sometimes, because, you know, initially, like you, I was fine. I enjoy my own company. It's not a problem occupying myself. But about 3 days ago, I thought, I'm falling. And I was really shocked. It really took me by surprise. And I just hope that, you know, because I feel like I've dropped to rock bottom, I'm going to be on the up, you know, shortly. Because it's not about, for me, it's also physical contact, you know. There's my hairdresser down the road, who obviously hasn't been there for nearly 5 weeks now. He's my person that I go to for a hug. And he's the only person in my life that I have such close physical contact with. And it's not there. And I absolutely, it's, what is it? That skin hunger, Jody, that we were talking about before. I just crave it utterly.
Can I share something, which is, I was single for a long time, and throughout grieving my childlessness and starting Gateway Women and writing my books, there was a long period. And so although I'm no longer single, it's something I really get on a physical level as well. And I write about it a lot in my book, because I think it's really important to bring out the issues that I think are unique around going through this experience alone. And I, in a chapter of my book, which is really more about self-care, chapter 8, I created this exercise, which was actually to help, it was really to help women, but this will work for men as well, to rebuild their relationship with their body, because there can be a real disconnect and a lot of sort of unpleasant feelings projected onto the female body. I mean, our culture supports us in doing this, and around childlessness. So I created this exercise to help with that. But when I started doing it for myself for 30 days, I discovered that it had a really powerful impact on skin hunger. I was single and childless at the time. And so I just wanted to explain to listeners what the exercise is, because it's really simple. So in my book, it's called the Say in chapter 8. But briefly, what it is you get a bottle of moisturizer of some kind, but you can also just do this in the shower as well. But the way the exercise is designed is you get a bottle and you just get a big label, and you just stick a label on it that says thank you. And it reminds you what that bottle of kind of moisturizer is for. But you could put it on your shower gel, you could do it anywhere. And you start at your feet, and you massage the cream into your feet. And as you're massaging it, you're saying to your feet, thank you. And I find it's really helpful to actually thank that part of your body for something it does for you. So it's about disconnecting from the way it looks, and it's about what it does for you. So as I massage my feet, I say, thank you for enabling me to walk around in the world. Do you know what I mean? And go places. And then I'll move on to, my shins and just sort of, thank you. And I'll get to my knees and say, thank you for still enabling me to sit cross-legged in my mid-50s. I'll go to my thighs, which is, not an area I like the look of. but I will kind of massage them very lovingly, you know, thank you for being so strong and so comfortable. And I'll get to my bottom, which is larger than I'd like. I'll massage it, say, thank you for being so comfortable to sit on. And, you know, I gradually move up my body. And the area that can be most tricky for women is the stomach area, you know, the area of the reproductive organs. That can often be an area of total neglect. It's like we hardly even think we've got it anymore. So actually, one of the things I recommend is to focus on your digestive system, if that's easier. So I'll sort of rub my tummy and say, thank you for digesting all the food I eat and turning it into fuel for my life. And you kind of gradually work up your body. And because it's your own hand touching your own flesh with this love for yourself and this gratitude for yourself, what it does is it starts to release a really big flow of oxytocin. This is the same hormone that is released when you get a safe hug. It's the same hormone released after orgasm. It's the feel-good bonding hormone that makes you feel good in your skin again. So you just don't forget your face. It's lovely to do your face. Thank your ears, thank your scalp. By the time you've finished, and actually even just doing it and thinking of it myself, you'll feel this tingle, hopefully this tingle all over your body. And that is the oxytocin. You do this every day. You can do it in the shower if you don't want to sort of cover yourself in cream. It is unbelievably powerful at helping to alleviate the real sense of deprivation that you get from not being touched, which is, you know, I'm a psychotherapist. I've studied sort of child development. It is a crucial part of being human to be touched. Babies who are not touched do not thrive. They die, even if they're fed. You know, it is, we are group animals, you know, so I think it's really important to take skin hunger seriously. And I'm thinking also of lots of older childless people who are on their own as well. And I am heartbroken by the lack of thought. This crisis, this corona crisis, has really revealed the ugly prejudices that underpin our society around ageism, sexism, pronatalism, ableism, so many other things. It really breaks my heart. Yeah.
And I think that's part of what's going on, isn't it, for anybody who's kind of aware of stuff like that? Because sometimes I just cry, and I don't necessarily need to know exactly why, but I know that it's a kind of confusion of all sorts of things. And when I was feeling it stronger about a week or so ago, the thing that hit me was all the comparable situations that this is not, as it were, you know, so like people in prison, people fleeing from a country or being trapped in a country, people going through wars, people being bombed, all those awful situations that in a sense can be so much worse than that. I know I'm going off what you were initially talking about, but it's that confusion of grief. I think that's what I mean. And you're mourning and you're grieving, and you don't necessarily know how much is for yourself and how much is for the wider world and what's going on. Yeah.
Rod, how are you getting on? Obviously you've moved recently as well. So does that, in terms of moving from an area you know well to somewhere that perhaps you don't know well, how's that affecting how you're coping? Because it's must be mixed feelings.
Well, I think everyone, to be honest, I feel like a bit of a fraud, really, because when Mickey Boy said you want to get involved, I kind of pondered, because off the back end of last year and everything that happened with the festival, Jody, and the radio and the TV and all that kind of stuff that I did, I think I came to a point where in my head I started to think, right, I've done enough now, I've had enough, and I don't actually want to think about the childless thing anymore. I've become burnt out by it, if I'm being absolutely honest. Not burnt out as in stress, just I resorted back to the whole thing about wanting to keep your mouth shut now and going back and be a bloke and just getting on with it, just coping. I didn't want to explore it anymore. I didn't want to think about it anymore. And to be honest, that's kind of where I'm at. So now that the virus has come along, and going back to what Sarah was saying, My work the same as you, Sarah, knackered, gone. Like Joss, like Jules, I lived on my own a long time now, and I've kind of, I don't know how to explain this. I've resorted back to what I know, which is coping on my own and dealing with life on my own. And I'm quite comfortable with it as well, because I like my space, I like my freedom. Jules, I've also got a hairdresser, as you can see, long hair that I have to cope with. It's difficult. I can't see him no more. Joke. I don't know, but in answer to it, whenever life has been a struggle for me, and there's been some dodgy moments in my life going right back to the day, I find things to do. I've kind of coping strategies, and I keep this as busy as I can, and that's always kind of helped me. That's no explanation whatsoever. I always feel when life gets tough, it's just like I pull my socks up and just think, right, you got to get on with it because I can't change it. So what can you do? And like Jody's examples of, the hug and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. I just, in my own little naff way, I just find ways of coping. And I'm not going to waffle on about Anne.
I can empathise with that though, Rod, because when we started talking about all of this, and I've gone through those peaks and troughs of being terrified, I think, and we've been in lockdown longer as well, like Jody. When was it? My birthday was the 7th of March, and that was the last time I probably went out anywhere. Then we went away on holiday to Scotland, and we didn't see anybody, which was great. And probably the big thing I did was go to the service station at Blythe, and that was about it. And I haven't really been anywhere since. We've been on lockdown, but my husband is older than I am, so he's gone into lockdown, and I'm worried about his. He's fine. He's very healthy, but I worry because we have an age gap. So I'm the one going out to do anything we can do. He can't go out, so that puts me in an odd situation where I'm not alone, but I'm thinking, I hope he's going to be all right. I've suddenly become aware of the fragility of some things, I suppose, and that's made me worried. I've also had pneumonia before, so some of the stuff on the television where they're showing pictures of people struggling to breathe, I didn't realise how much that had an impact on me at the time and how much I feel it now when I look at it and think, oh God, so I'm constantly checking my breath. But someone asked, and I know, Sarah, you replied to this as well. It was in a group that we both belong to, and it was about how you're coping. And it was only on Friday, and it was the measures of grief, and it was the Sarah, I might need your help on this, but it was the Kubler-Ross model of how you go through shock and denial and frustration, depression, experiment, and then decision to integration. And the person who had posted this had given it a slightly broader or different shape to the model that I'm familiar with, but it was how you coping. And my reply to that on Friday was that actually I found I've got more resources in me to call on than I thought I had. And I think because of going through childlessness, because of slight trigger warning here, but because of going through failed IVF and through miscarriages, and I referenced you, Jody, in saying that it's living a life unexpected, and we are in this, everyone now collectively around the world has been thrown into this completely unexpected life that often we've found ourselves in before because we're already isolated. I mean, we've all been to events, we've all been to parties, we've all been online, we've been in numerous situations where we've been the person that sat there and everyone's going, oh, kids, my kids. And to agree, there's a bit of that now because, of course, the business groups that I'm in, people are talking about how they're also now being teachers and they're having to deal with their children being off school, which I'm absolutely sure is ridiculously traumatic if you're also trying to keep a business going because you have the remnants of something that you can use. That in itself is its own challenge. But I think I'm used to that isolation. Somehow I'm used to it. Although, yes, I'm in the very fortunate position of having my husband here and 2 sheds where I can put him in one when it gets too dad. He can just go there, it's fine. We have space and a big garden, hurrah. But it's just dealing with that kind of that isolation and coping with it is something I found that within me I have those skills. I'm quite an introvert anyway, so I don't mind that. This is about the most extrovert I ever get is on the podcast, because it still feels quite intimate. And also I've lost friendships already because of what I've been through. And in having new friendships through the podcast, through the work and through talking about things, I've learned that it's not linear. So what we're going through, we're going to bounce back through all of those different stages in the next few months, as we have done probably for most of our recovery and our journey through childlessness and in the voluntary situation that we're in. I think there's a lot to be said for that you're living the life unexpected is so apt for everybody right now. It's always been appropriate for us.
On my publication day, I wrote a blog, to finish my blog tour, and it was this, when the title of your book is the title of the news.
Yeah.
What a strange thing, but I would agree with you that I've noticed in myself and in quite a lot of other childless women who've been through the process rather than those who are kind of new and coming into it, is that we have indeed got skills, heartbreakingly hard-earned skills on dealing with difference, on dealing with unexpected change, on dealing with having the rug pulled out from underneath you, on dealing with isolation, on dealing with incredible uncertainty. Because I think that's the thing that's back for me about this, is that I can't plan for the future in any way, business or personal. It's just, and that's kind of slightly fried me, and that really brought me back to that feeling of grief, which is about being in the present and thinking a lot about the past. And when you look into the future, it's so scary. You either can't go there, or if you go there, you catastrophize. And it's kind of like, wow. And I can definitely hold that place in more of a place of integration than I could. It's still painful, but it doesn't sort of completely undo me. And you know how we talk about grief coming in waves, and as you go through your grief process and you heal a lot, it's like the waves get smaller, they get further apart, and sometimes you can see them on the horizon, although usually not. When I get a griefy moment, I usually never see it coming, and it's usually about something which is like completely random anyway. But I feel with this, it's having that same thing. There are waves of sort of pandemic grief. And I'm in a kind of, I'm sort of paddling in the shallows again at the moment. I think Sarah's kind of, keeping her head above quite deep water. And I think it's helpful to sort of, to see that, because I think I felt a little bit, embarrassed at first about how hard it hit me. I sort of thought I kind of ought to be doing better. I didn't give myself a very good gold star for that. And then I realised that judgment was very unhelpful, and Joss is laughing. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, Joss?
Yeah, I think exactly the same. And I've been really quite self-critical about some of my emotional reactions to things. So I've got really cross, for example, because I was like, oh my God, like 2020 was supposed to be the year that I did this, and whatever. And that's all like just gone to pot. So I was cross about that. And then I think some of the sort of media messages around for example, one of the things that's really got me is about how it's really reminding us all of what really matters, and that's family and being with your family. So that I've been angry about that for all sorts of reasons, not least the fact that lots of people don't have happy and healthy families or have no family at all. But then I've also kind of layered on the getting cross with myself for being cross, and exactly as you said, Jody, kind of thinking I should be better at this. I've had all of this kind of experience through coming to terms with being childless, and why can't I just apply it like that? And it's been interesting.
You know what? It's so funny because Jody saw it. I wrote a really sweary blog about some of the shit that I'm seeing on social media at the moment. I've made no secret of the fact that I've backed right off it, because every time I open it, there's something about how hard it is to be a parent at the moment. And, you know, I get it, it is, but there's only so many times I can have it fucking rammed down my throat before I go off. And I totally went off. And I think what's really pissed me off is the lack of awareness around anyone outside the social norm of having 2.4 children. And that's really, and I could kind of see my grief coming, because as soon as I get angry, I get angry and I go, ah! And then the grief comes in. And I think for me, after I did that blog, that was when the tide of grief sort of hit me. And I'd gone from coping and staying productive like Rod, which is usually what I do. I stay super busy and I'm fine. I haven't got to think about anything else. You haven't got to engage my feelings. And then I got angry, and then it all sort of dissipated because I put it in that blog, and it's like, oh, bollocks, I'm in it again. And I think, you know, as a trainee counsellor and a psychotherapist, you expect better of yourself, don't you? So when you're down in it again, you think, oh, for fuck's sake, really? I thought I processed this. I've done what I was supposed to do.
I think, Sarah, that's part of the reason why, for me, I kind of resort back and think, right, bollocks, I'm moving on. Because you seem, touching on what Josh was saying as well, you put the media, you see on the news, you look up on the internet, and I'm seeing I've got people saying, belling me, calling me, right, because I'm a Mavi and I'm quite positive. They're belling me, going, I don't know what to do with my life. My work's gone. I feel lonely. I feel isolated. I mean, tons of stories about people saying, you see it all the time. I can't give, going back to what Jody was saying, I can't give me mum a hug. I can't see my brother. I can't see my sister. I can't see my family. I'm thinking, well, bollocks, welcome to my world there.
Yeah.
I feel a bit bad because I'm taking a little bit of vitriol out of it as well, which I don't like you were saying, Sarah. I don't like it, but I just think then maybe you should just all take your hats off to yourselves, you guys, because this is the stuff we've got to deal with every single bleeding day. And it's like, and I do think, well, welcome, because I've got no family. Aside from the fact I ain't got no kids, I ain't got no family. Find your little coping strategies. But I'm like, all the things that are being highlighted now with what's going on with the virus is like, it's the norm.
Yeah.
For me.
And when, if ever, we can go back to all those close contacts, they will have those people who have those relationships will, as has been said often on Gateway Women and other groups, they will have those again, and we will have our normal situation again, which is not to have them, as it were. I am angry almost all the time, I'm afraid, when I'm not actually occupied in, I mean, some of the time I feel really happy, and I try and get lots of highs from doing exercise, and I try and distract myself and all that. Some of the time I'm happy, but the rest of the time I'm absolutely livid. And I've forgotten what I was going to say completely, sorry. But yeah, because there's also so much there to say, really. But yeah, that's it. I'm very angry because I just want to say, well, fuck you, get over it, you know. I'm sorry.
No, hooray! Let's get fucking angry.
I think I've been I've had to stop myself, and this is terrible, but I found it quite extraordinary about how some people are taking risks with their family, and then you think, do you love them that much, really, that you actually want to go and visit them? And put them into that position? Can you really not control your urges? You know, I mean, I haven't seen my parents for must be about 2 months, you know, and I know that if I went anywhere near their house, I'd want to hug them. I have to not do that. I can't do that. We've missed birthdays, we've missed all sorts of things. We've had a funeral in our family. We can't do that. You know, we can't. Absolutely cannot. We have to control those urges. But I'm really struggling to not turn into a bit of a like, oh, what are they doing again, visiting their parents? That's really bad. And no, don't do that. Don't do it. Don't look. Just walk away. But you think, well, what measure are you putting on love, and you're controlling your urges. I find that quite astonishing and quite extraordinary that anybody would want to do that.
It's like people feel that they are being stopped from doing something.
Yeah, and I can see that
some kind of unreasonable restriction that they kind of want to find ways round, or you know?
And I think actually over here, I mean, you're talking about the lockdown that you have there, Julie, and over here, my someone who's very, very close to me, my friend's daughter had posted how she was struggling to understand what the rules meant. She's 19 and she was saying, it just seems like waffle. And I think that's also quite true. There's a great deal of ambiguity, I think, in our lockdown here. And people will find gaps, I think, in that. There's already this morning on social media a post talking about what it might be our exit strategy from lockdown. And I'm thinking, but we're up to 15,000 deaths. What earth are we talking about that for right now? Why is that a conversation that we're having? Let's sort out exactly what the lockdown means first, because people are breaking those rather ambiguous rules. And I can see why they might be, because it is very unclear in some respects. We haven't got to your level of lockdown yet, and I kind of feel that we should be, because people just don't seem to be able to control the urges. I don't know, maybe perhaps there's something in the fact that we are used to being isolated and used to being on the outside of so many different conversations, that it's easier sometimes perhaps for us to sort of adjust to the fact that we are in lockdown. I've found it slightly easier than I thought I would, because I'm not having to have those gatherings where I'm the one that's not the parent. The challenge I have, and I don't know if anybody else has had this either on the conversation or with our listeners, is that one of my goals was to make a big change in my life, and I can't do that because I have to think about income and things like that. But in working for a company and having Zoom meetings, I have the extraordinary situation of obviously having people with their children in the background. That's been challenging on meetings. And I had a really interesting one where, and you can see, everyone on the podcast here can see the background that I've got behind me with the shelves. And I've got a clanger toy. It's just here. I'll bring it to the front. There we go. It's a knitted clanger that my mother made me ages ago, because my sister-in-law and I have a thing about the clangers. Which my brother tolerates, I think, when we get together. And someone said, "Oh, you're in a playroom as well, aren't you?" And I said, "This is my office." "Oh, but you've got a toy in the background." "No, it's something that just sits on the side. It's what it is." No, I don't have children," I said. "I sadly don't have children." And I've never had that before. And it's that intrusion somehow of people, they're doing things like house tours on one of the catch-ups that they have. And it's like, no, absolutely no way. Any of you, yes. No, because there's actually anybody else. No, it's my private space.
Hang on. So they're doing house tours. So what they're doing, casing your joint for when you're.
Oh well, it's they're kind of colleagues, and it's like a through the keyhole thing that they're doing. Nothing like casing the joint. No,
right. Can make a list of what's mutable.
Yeah, I'll have that. Oh, I found there's nothing. Seriously, there's nothing here to nick. I can assure you. I wouldn't necessarily want to rob. No, I can't. No, there's nothing in here I'd want to steal, really, apart from maybe the Mac. But it is that intrusion. So a lot of people, I think, out there may well be in that situation where they're working from home and people are coming into their space. And it occurred to me at the time, and it has done since, is that a lot of us perhaps live in houses that we bought at the time. I did, because this room that I'm sitting in right now should have been my child's room. Mm-hmm. This is what this house, it's a bigger house. We moved from a tiny starter home to something a lot bigger because we wanted to fill it with children. So there is a negotiation perhaps sometimes of our working practices that means that we have to be mindful of that, not with us, with others. The one good thing that did happen is that I had contact with somebody who has been affected, of course, by the ending of fertility treatment, and is finding themselves in this hideous place. We talked about it very briefly in the previous, not the previous podcast, because that's going out today, but the one before that, episode, oh God, like days of the week, isn't it? 12, I think it was, or 13, one of the two anyway. We talked about that and about how that's impacted on people, and people coming into a space where we are that they would not have necessarily expected to find themselves into. And it's heartbreaking for her, but it was lovely that she was able to reach out and to just tell me about that and to talk about her story. But it's a story that you wish wasn't happening. And again, that's all because of where we are with the coronavirus. But yeah, there's a sense, I think there's something kind of around boundaries in all of that somewhere. I'm waffling again, but it is that boundaries and people coming into our spaces in perhaps a way we hadn't necessarily thought of before.
Yeah, I get that. I think part of my downward slide has been being in a house that I did buy for having a family, and then being stuck in it. And you're very conscious of what you don't have, I think, when you're stuck indoors. And you see lots of people moaning about the fact they've got kids under their feet, and you think, oh, I give my fucking right arm for that. And I, to be moaning about it as well. So I think part of that is, having people zooming into your office, which would have been for your kid. And you're conscious of it as well. And then people sort of nosing round your background. Apparently, though, you can put a background up in Zoom if you're interested. But,
you can, yeah.
But I think, you were talking about exit strategies, and I know you sort of feel it's a bit early, but I've been coming up with my own exit strategy, and it involves going to a pub, actually, because I am a raging introvert, but I miss sitting in a pub listening to the background noise. I might even go around and hug people as well, and I'm not particularly a huggy person, but I do miss having that social contact, just being around people.
What's the first thing that we're all going to do when this is over? And it's the very first thing. Michael, you've been very, very quiet. Very quiet. What's the first thing you're going to do?
Okay, well, before we get to that,
go on. Tell us a story, Michael. Tell us a story.
No, it'll come. They just come to me. I just can't force them out. Just talk what Rod said about feeling like a bit of a what was it, fraud? I actually feel the same as you, Rod. It's I've just finished editing that men's episode with Andy and Ken, and one of the things Andy said was that he said it's like this isolation thing is bringing back the grief of trying to have children through IVF, and how I don't know if I've explained to you guys how alienating that is and isolating. Which I get that, but like Rod said, well, I've gone back to what I know, and it's just I've got to get on. I'm turning into that. I'm turning into that guy that Vicky says, "Why didn't you grieve? Why did I feel so alone? Because I didn't think you cared." And it's not that. I'm just like Rod. I'm going back to what I know, and what I know is that we've got to get through this. And so it's full steam ahead, blinkers on. Let's do it. And I'm finding that because of my personal situation right now, I have both my parents are quite ill, and I'm trying to administer their life because they left a absolute fucking mess, and well, not left it, they're still in it, but trying to navigate and administer their life for them. So I have been run off my feet trying to do that in this really weird time. So it's actually quite a blessing for me in some respects that both Vicky and I have been doing this. But one of the other things, and going back to, sorry, I know one of you mentioned it, but it's also like, this is a doddle. This is easy, because it's what we've always done. You know, we have this joke that no one ever comes round our house, and they don't. We don't have friends come to our home. If we ever want to see someone, we go to them, because even 10, 12 years down the track, where, you know, we are well on the way to acceptance, you know, and so, you know, we're just sitting there going, this is normal. This is like normal life. This is what it's like, you know. And although one things that we do miss, and so I'll get to that question, Berenice, about what's the first thing you're going to do, is we're going to go get in the car and go for a drive, because right now that's what I want to do. And I'm thinking I'm gonna meet no one. It's just going to be us in our cocoon of a car, and I just want to go for a bloody drive. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
I'm going to go to the beach.
Yeah.
So in Ireland, we have a 2-kilometre radius from our home, obviously a lot more generous than Julie's dealing with in Spain, but you're not allowed to take your car. So it's 2 kilometres for exercise, which is 4 kilometres away. And we're currently living in a small town whilst we, build a house, which is also, all of that's had to stop as well. But so I'm really looking forward, and so is Parsnip, the dog, to getting back to the beach, because we live near a beach which keeps winning, the TripAdvisor Best Beach in Ireland award. It's one of those huge, long, sort of Irish beaches that actually looks beautiful, sand all the way out, and the tide goes out like a mile, and you can throw a ball for a crazy Parsons Russell like us. I mean, you can really throw it a long way, and she is gone. She is a little white speck in the distance. And when she comes running back towards you with the ball in her mouth, trying to pant at the same time, it's such pure joy. And I want that joy back. I really miss that.
I think I'm going to go to the beach too. I'm going to go and look at it, because at the beginning of all this, before we were totally aware of what we could and couldn't do, I remember taking the recycling down to the bins, which are on the seafront, and having a sneaky look at the sea, which was the last time I saw it, so about a month ago. So I'm going to get on my bike and go and cycle right along about 3 miles. You can go along the seafront, and just breathe it in and look at it and smell it and revel in it.
What about you, Joss?
It's interesting, because I was thinking about that, and a week or so ago, and thinking, oh gosh, I don't know really, what is it I'm going to leap to do? And maybe that's because, as Michael was saying, like, some of my everyday life is about being a bit alone anyway. But I think I love the sea, and so I would love to be able to get in my car and go with a couple of my friends that we like swimming. And I think the other thing I'd like to do is just to go out with some of my old friends, and just something normal, like to a pub that we like, and just chat and laugh together, actually face to face, and see people in the flesh. I think I just miss that. Yeah. So I haven't got one. I've probably got a couple of things.
Go on, Rod, what about you?
I think, well, to be fair, everyone, I mean, I have been behaving during the virus, but I've also not been. I have been getting out and doing stuff. I ain't letting this thing keep me in. I'm looking after people. I'm not being disrespectful to other people, but nothing like this keeps me down. So I find ways. But in answer to the question, I'm going to go to every restaurant there is in the area and just muller them, right, basically. Definitely, like Sarah said, straight down to Boozer. There's a dodgy Wetherspoons in Clapham, right, which I might not go to now, because did you what about that bastard did, by the way, with his staff? Terrible. So I'm not going to Wetherspoons again, stuff him. And then the other thing, and forgive my crudity, this sounds terrible on website, but just before the virus kicked in, bearing in mind I'm getting older and uglier, I'd be lucky if I could pull a muscle, but I just literally met a girl that I was I was that close, basically, to getting my leg over, right? And I ain't been able to see her, right? And I'm desperate to have a go.
Good for
I
you.
was that close to scoring, and then this bloody thing happened, and it just shut everything down. And I'm desperate to get back on the park and see if I can play the game and score. He played another game. I don't know, but I'm going to try. You can't keep a good man down. Well, not a good man. I'm not a good man, but I was that close.
No,
And
but you know what? You know what? I think you've got a good chance because it's like a kind of wartime mentality, you know? So.
Yeah. Jones, come on, Battle of Britain. Do you know what I mean? D-Day, we're going over the top. Nothing keeps you down. Keep fighting Britain. That's what I'm doing. So I'm hoping.
You're in with a good chance there, definitely.
I hope so, Jules. You know what I mean? I hope, she hasn't thought, oh, blimey. I'd suddenly woken up and realised she's seen this and gone, oh, God, what was I thinking of? Too much sherbet. But I'm going to give it a go. I'm not. I was that close, seriously, to scoring.
So you just want a bit of leg over then?
Basically, you know what I mean? Jules, I love an hug, but,
Yeah, screw the hug. You just want to go straight to it.
No, absolutely. You know when you're on the edge, Mickey boy, when you put the shift in and you tried really, and I've got to put a double shift in looking like this. I put a shift in, and then this bloody virus comes along and launches it up. So I'm going to give a double.
Sarah, you do know that somehow we've got to sort of follow this up with something extraordinarily brilliant about what we're going to be doing after the lockdown.
Something profound.
Yeah. Do you know what did occur to me, actually, Sarah, is that, we have that race to go and visit people. So one of the things that we talked about away from the podcast with Michael was how Michael's going to fly over here and visit everybody that we know in the UK before Sarah and I do. That's just not on. She cannot do that. So I think, Sarah, you and I need to plan our road trip, is what we need to do, and go and meet people in our community before Michael does, because we've got an extra added advantage now. Road trip.
Yeah. Come on, girls, get on with it. Film and Louise, let's have it.
We could do that. Do you want to play the part of Brad Pitt, or I don't know?
I don't know about Brad Pitt, more armpit, but
that'll be fine. We'll come and find you, Rod. You're there. You're in the seat. We need a decent car, but we'll be fine. We'll be okay. I'm actually going to go to the beach. Is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do exactly as Jody has said. I'm going to take my dog and I'm going to go to the beach. It's not far from us, but it's too far for us to go legally, so we can't. So I just want to go there, take my dog and just walk for miles. We did at Christmas for about 2 weeks and we haven't really been back since, and that's what I want to do. And if I can persuade my parents to come along, that would be great. And anyone who knows me, I think I'm a bit cautious about going to the pub, but I do miss our local pub. But he's selling bottles through the front door, so I do go up there and just like wave plaintively and pick up a bottle of beer and come home. It's not quite the same, but at least it's there. And I think probably on the eve of lockdown, when they do it, if there is a warning, then I think I might just go around Cambridge again, because one of the things I've absolutely thoroughly loved is going around the streets of Cambridge, and it's so beautiful here, but I have never seen it so quiet, and it feels like I kind of own it. I'm like, yay, I live here, it's all mine, because there's nobody around, and it's quite emotional but beautiful, and I've actually really enjoyed that, the silence and the peace. And our city, it gets more visitors and tourists and students than it does residents, so to actually have it to yourself and to just stand and actually look at King's College Chapel and there not be anybody wandering in front of a picture is like, wow, that never happens. So that's been quite nice to do that, and to look at the cows, because we have cows on our commons here as well, has been really nice as well. So that's what I'd like to do. So Sarah?
It sounds like, I'm going to go to the pub, I've already said that, and go and hug loads of random people. So, but it sounds to me like a lot of us just want to get out and be around company again, doesn't it, really? Which segues nicely, because I think Jody would like to mention Gateway Online.
Yes. As perhaps some of the listeners know, Gateway Women hosts meetups, social meetups around the world, actually, and quite a few of those meetups are going online. So the recording we're doing today is on Zoom, which, as Rod says, looks like the Brady Bunch, and quite a few of our GW meetup hosts are going to be doing that. Some of them have already done it, and some of them are getting some training from us in how to do it. So if you would like to have some virtual company and see some virtual friendly faces, do check up, come to the Gateway Women website and go to meetups, and you'll find more details there. And we're hoping to keep that connection going through the lockdown.
That's fantastic.
I run the Kent one, and we've gone online. It's never been so bloody popular.
That's really good.
Everyone just to get on.
Michael's also doing your virtual pub, aren't you? Or you have been too, for everybody else that is interested in connecting with Michael. And your Michael's cousin is doing the bad Kalinga. Is that Michael? Correct my pronunciation. Is it Kalimba or
oh God.
Kalimba? I think it is.
I think it's Kalimba.
Yeah.
I think it's Kalimba, yes.
It's
Kalimba.
honestly, Kalimba, it has had me in tears. It's so funny. I have literally cried because he's just so brilliant at what he does. And I think we talked about it on a previous...
No idea what that is. It sounds like yoga.
Okay.
Oh, it's brilliant.
No, it's not. It's just brilliant. Michael has talked about it, I think, on the podcast previous to this one, or the one before that. The one that we talked about with the friendship in a time of need, he's talked about it on there, but it's Michael's cousin, and he's got this instrument that's kind of like a round kind of bowl, isn't it, with like a strings on top.
It looks like a mandolin,
yeah,
but with no neck, and it's just strings on the bowl. And he lives on the west coast of Ireland, just I think County Mayo, maybe. But he's up that way, Jody. So yeah, he's got a thick Irish accent, and he's actually. I've been watching some of his other videos. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant at what he does.
He's hilariously entertaining, and he has this music, and he knows what it is, and he plays it on the kalimba, and you have to guess what it is. And I have not got one of them, which is no reflection on his talent so much as probably my kind of popular culture sort of missing gene. But he's absolutely, it's so very, very funny. And the other really funny thing, of course, is the BBC News theme. There's a weather forecaster in the northwest, Olwen, who's apparently a talented drummer. And he's done a thing, it's on Twitter, and I'll have to put it somewhere on one of our social media sites because it is hilarious. And he drums to the BBC News News at 10 theme tune. So if you're like me and you've dreaded the news being on, which I've dreaded it, I hate it, then I have literally been listening to this, and it's been like, oh, this is fantastic. I can listen to the BBC News theme tune again because he's actually done this kind of like disco kind of drum version of it. It's very, very funny as well. So, yes. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you, Josh.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice
Look after yourselves, everyone.
Yeah, look after yourselves.
You don't have to go yet, because I'm just going to say, Rod, I know where Finchley is now. I was actually born in Highgate, just south of that. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, you just walked down the road, weren't you?
Yeah.
Well, don't come down my place.
It's got a long way. It's got a long way to come to see you.
No, you're on the list. You're on the list, mate. You're on the list.
No, when you do, come and stay with me, mate. No problem.
Sarah, Michael, should we stay on the call for a second and catch up? Would that be good? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Cheerio.
It's lovely to meet you.
And
Take care.
To meet you, Joss.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
See you,
Bye.
mate. Thanks for staying the distance. And please don't forget, we are also on the Trinity of Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And all those links can be found on our website, www.thefullstoppod.com. We would also appreciate it if you could rate us on the platform that you're listening to the podcast. The more ratings we get, the wider our spread and the more of our community we can reach. Now, talking of our community, a good friend of ours and the podcast, Dr. Robin Hadley, has a new and free paper to download. We'll leave the link in the show notes. If you'd like to be a guest on a podcast or have a burning issue you think our community should be aware of, we've got All Official, and we have a form on our website that you can fill in to give us the details. And don't forget, we love hearing from our audience, so please drop us a line at any time. And as always, it's important for us to let you know you are not alone.
Do you want me to stop recording?
Yeah.